Welcome to the Real Estate Entrepreneurs Podcast. Real people doing real deals in real estate and no fake gurus allowed. We bring you the best and the most real estate investors in the space. They'll be showing you the good, the bad, and the ugly of real estate investing. Like, share, subscribe, get notified. It's the Real Estate Entrepreneurs Podcast.
Welcome to the Real Estate Entrepreneurs Podcast. And today it is my pleasure to have my friend, my inspiration, Mr. Tim Mai. I remember watching a video of Tim Mai on YouTube like back in 2008, 2009. And I said, man, if this guy can do this, I definitely can. Tim, thank you so much for being here today on our podcast and accepting my invitation in such a short notice. But
yeah, thanks for having me here.
Let's get down, man. Like, who is Tim? Where do you come from? Where? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, long story, short story, right? So I'll share a little bit about my background, but I haven't always been this handsome. I'll start with that.
That's funny. That's awesome.
You know, I was originally from Vietnam.
You were, and now where are you from?
I'm here in Houston.
No, but you said you were originally from Vietnam.
Okay, yeah.
I was like, I guess you changed your origin now.
Yeah, changed your origin. Yeah, so yeah, I'm from Vietnam, and my brother and I came here. He was 19, I was 12 years old. And, so we grew up on the streets. I mean, it's pretty much just the two of us for most of our lives, so we, how we left Vietnam, back when I was born in 1975, when the war ended, and my whole family was supposed to have left Vietnam at that time, but because I was only 2 weeks old, my mom was afraid that I might die. So, we stayed back. And so after the war ended, the communist government took over, and you can't just leave Vietnam. You have to escape out of Vietnam. So a lot of people had tried to escape out of Vietnam. My whole family had tried to escape like many times, that we just weren't successful. So when my brother turned 18, and back then when you turn 18, it's automatic draft into the military.
Right.
And so a lot of boys, they would either cut off their index finger so they can't pull the trigger, or they would try to escape out of Vietnam. And so my parents wanted my brother to be able to leave. So they asked me if I wanted to come along, and at that time I was 11 years old. So I was like, sure, I'll come along. We always come back home, go back home anyways, right? So so I went with my brother. So we finally actually made it out of Vietnam. We kind of imagine like a 24-foot fishing boat with 37 of you on there.
Wow.
Yeah. So we were all laying underneath the deck like sardines next to each other. And my brother and the other man was sitting next to the engine and constantly like scooping out water.
Wow.
So we literally floated out at sea for 7 days and 6 nights. And on the 4th day, we got hijacked by 5 pirate boats.
Wow.
So these are like, not like, Pirates of the Caribbean. These are, these are actually Thai fishermen that would, steal, like rape the woman, throw the man off the boat, and steal whatever they can. Right?
Yeah, they're thugs. They're thugs. And that's the reality of today's pirate ship, right? Right. They're just out there trying to catch boats, to steal, get whatever they have. And I've actually watched some shows about that. It's big in Southeast Asia. All over the Philippines, Malaysia, Thailand. Pirate ship is kind of like an everyday thing.
Yeah. So it's So yeah, I mean, so that's, for us, I think what we got lucky because there was 5 of them and not just one of them. I think if there was only one of them that pulled us over, they might have done much more horrible things to us, and so
Right.
maybe 5, there's more of a sort of peer pressure, whatever, I don't know. But they came over, they took whatever valuables that they could, and then they left us on our way after that.
Wow.
And yeah, so we so a few days later we got picked up by a Malaysian boat. So they took us to the Malaysian refugee camp. And yeah, so I spent 6 months in Malaysia, in the Malaysian refugee camp, another 6 months in the Philippines refugee camp, to get like paperwork to get into the US basically. And so yeah, I moved to Seabrook, southeast of Houston here,
Yeah.
when I first came over. And yeah, my that's where I started. And at first we moved into one of my uncle's house, but it was a 2-bedroom apartment. He had 3 kids, one of which was a newborn baby. It was very tight. So we only stayed there for 3 months, and then we were left on our own. So we used to live in Allen Parkway, which is the project back then. Government housing, Section 8 type rentals. Yeah, I mean, I remember growing up, at any given time, we were living in this 2-bedroom apartment, and at any given time, there's like 8 to 12 other single guys living there.
Wow.
A lot of the guys were runaway kids. They're just like guys that were kind of lost, like we were. And so we, growing up, I mean, we did whatever stupid stuff we could to survive. Dealing drugs and going like stealing car radios and just stupid stuff like that.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Luckily, we got out of that environment. I was able to finish high school, finish most of my college. I haven't gotten my college degree just yet because I'm just rebellious and don't want to get my college degree. But
Right.
but anyways, after college, I found a good IT job in Dallas, and so I worked there for a couple of years. Fresh out of college, they were paying me $40 an hour. No, 40,000 a year. So that's like $20 an hour.
Right.
They were charging for my consult. So I was doing network software consulting. They were charging $230 an hour for my time. It's crazy, right?
Wow.
Yeah. So the whole time I was there, I was constantly thinking, it's like, I want to go and I want to do my own business. I want to be charging $230 an hour, not $20 an hour.
Right.
And anyway, so .com came around, and .com busted.
That was like 91, 92. I forgot.
This is so I worked there from 99 to around 99, 2000 time frame. 99 is basically when the .com busted, but the company hung in there until 2002.
Got it.
And then so the company went belly up, and basically they laid all of us off. And so I was like, okay, what am I going to do next, right? So I started looking around, and then I saw Robert Allen was doing some advertising, and he had at that time he had wrote the book called the 1 Minute Millionaire, the 1 Minute Millionaire. So I checked into that, and basically paid $3,000 to be a part of that program. So my name is actually in the back of that book.
Really?
Yeah, if you guys. So I was one of what they it created this program called the Millionaire Eagles, and I'm like one of those people.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and yeah, so that's that was how I got into real estate investing. So I moved. That was in Dallas. And then I moved back to Houston. Man, I spent the first 6 months in the business door knocking on pre-foreclosures. And guess how many deals I did from those door knocking?
Zero.
Zero.
But hold on a second. So you left Dallas.
Uh-huh.
You came to Houston, and why you get into real estate? Like, how was that? Like, where do you learn no door knocking or that? Like, how did that idea come about to you?
Yeah. So after I moved back from Dallas, so I learned about real estate investing through that Robert Allen
Okay.
program. And so, when I moved back to Houston, I attended the Rich Club, like the local RIA clubs here. And yeah, so I learned about pre-foreclosures, and it makes sense, people, in foreclosure. So you try to get to
Help
them
them out.
before they lose the house, right? So,
Yep.
so that like that whole idea made sense to me. So that's why I got into door knocking. Into doing pre-foreclosures, and then sort of one of the ladies here in Houston, she specialized in teaching people to go door knocking on pre-foreclosure.
Okay.
So I actually hire her as my mentor, to teach me that business. And yeah, I mean, every single day, I didn't have a job at that time because I got laid off. So I was working the business pretty hard. I mean, every single day, like rain or shine, I would go out there, door knock at least 20 doors a day. It's just that, my luck is just, it didn't happen, right? But I learned.
How are you paying bills at the time?
So I moved in with my sister at that time.
Okay.
Yeah, so I didn't have to pay rent or anything, and I still had some savings that was left from my job.
From your
right?
job. So you were good at saving money.
To a degree, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I was young. I was not married back then, and I made plenty of money. So yeah, I definitely had extra. And so yeah, I was out there just pounding the pavement, and while I didn't get any deals, I learned so much in that process. I learned how to call banks to negotiate forbearance. I learned about short sales. I learned about like a lot of different, like learned how to
Strategies.
yeah. I learned how to deal with like handle objections. I got so many people like curse me out and slam the door in my face and all of that stuff. I got so I grew thick skin through that process.
Right.
um and yeah, in one, this is how I did my first deal. So I was in Barnes and Noble one day, and reading through real estate books, and I saw a book by Peter Conti. It was actually on lease options, and I got to chapter 3 of the book, and it says, if you want to do your first deal in the next 30 days, go put out 100 signs, 100 bandit signs. I was like, well, that's simple enough. I closed the book, didn't buy it at that time. I didn't buy it until years later after I met Peter.
Oh yeah. That's funny.
Yeah,
And how was that introduction? Hey, Peter, my name is Tim. I read your book a few years ago for free. I never got to buy it, but you know what? Now that I get to know you, I'm gonna buy it.
yeah, I mean, we laughed about it and everything. Because by the time I met him, I was already in the education space. So I was already teaching other people to do real estate. So him and I got to become friends. And so yeah, I gave him a testimonial, about that whole story. But yeah, so it says to put out 100 signs. So in my mind, it's like, you know what? I mean, I put out a lot of work to try to get this business to work. So I'm just gonna double what he said. I'm gonna put out 200 signs instead of 100. So my wife and I, so by this time,
you were already married.
No, not yet. So there was my girlfriend, now wife, because we didn't get married until 2003, and this is 2002. So my then girlfriend would drive the car, and I would put out the signs, and then that very weekend, so we put out the sign on Thursday, and I went to a Robert Allen seminar Friday, Saturday, and Sunday that weekend in San Antonio. And at that seminar, I learned to ask, is that the best you can do? Right? Like
yes.
That's the one line I remember.
That's the one aha moment for you.
Right.
The nugget.
So Monday morning, after the seminar, the seller called me. I was still asleep, so she didn't leave a voicemail or anything like that. So I tried to call her back, finally got a hold of her. And she told me about a property that she has. Back then, mold claim was really popular in Texas. I don't know if you ever been through that, but but back in the early 2000s, a lot of people were doing, black mold claim on their houses. Anyways, so she had done a mold claim on her house, and it was in a Mission Bend area, and so this house was worth like $130,000, and she was asking 60,000 for this house. And it's like, hey, this sounds like a good deal. So I was like, okay, let me use the line that I just learned from the seminar. Is that the best you can do? And she said, you know what? The best I can do is 55,000.
Ooh, she just dropped another five.
Just like that. I mean, within like less than a minute, right? Just by asking that simple question. And that question goes on to serve me so well in a lot of,
I use it a lot. I actually use it a lot. I never heard it from anybody, but I do say, is that the best you can do, man? Come on, help me out here so we can cut a deal, right? But I follow it with help me out here so we can cut a deal.
That's good.
So it's kind of like reinforcing that, hey, man, they're just helping me out now. I'm helping them buy the property, but now they're helping me out by cutting me a deal. And they feel like, okay, we both win. And they're dropping. We had this lady that, and I'm sorry to cut you off track, but it just brought me to a deal we're doing right now. She said, I want 8,000, but I wouldn't take any less than 5.
I love it when people say that.
It's like, okay. And then we go, all right, we're going to send you a contract for 5. Is that the best that you can do so you can help me out so we can cut out a deal? Well, 4,000. Okay, perfect. Let's send the contract, right? So
that's awesome. I love that. Yeah, I learned something new today. Help me out so we can make a deal.
Help me out so we can cut a deal today, right now, right? I'm a closer. I am a closer. Like, I will close you on, if I want to sell you on something, I'm going to go close you. Right. Yeah. So I study all those things that come after the offer. Right. So I can get you moving to paying, put the ink on paper pretty much. So, awesome. Yeah. So, okay. So I'm sorry. So you were saying you learned that in San Antonio on that seminar. What came afterwards? You got the $5,000 reduction on that mold house. How was that deal?
Yeah, so I got that property in a contract. In case you hear bird chirping, that's my lovebird.
It's okay. We love that. Oh, you got a gong too.
Yeah, so Tom Pro bought it for me.
Oh yeah. Awesome. Is that every time you lock up a deal or what?
Yeah, it's a victory gong.
I have a ring bell. I don't know. You've seen it, right? The ringside, like a boxing bell.
Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun. That's what we use here.
Yeah, I was joking with Tom Crow that his victory bell was a gong, and then so he went and ordered me a gong.
Awesome, man. Awesome.
So anyways, so I went look at the property. Long story short, I got in a contract. I learned about both wholesaling and rehabbing at that time, but I was like, man, there's so much equity here, and I haven't done the deal for 6 months. I really need the money, and so let me just rehab this deal instead of wholesaling it.
Right.
So my very first private lender was my sister.
Oh wow.
And I share this with everybody. Like, your contact list, your friends and family, it's an amazing source of private lenders that like a lot of people don't realize.
Do you know who mine was?
Who?
My mother-in-law.
Nice. That's
actually awesome. My first deal that I ever bought was my mother-in-law.
That's awesome.
So I started using private money right away.
Yeah. So yeah, and because here's my negotiation with my sister. Check this out. It's like, look, you have your money sitting in a CD. It's barely earning you 1%. How about this? I'll do 3 times that. I'll pay you 3% for your money. And I got it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And gosh, through that project I learned so much. About rehab. I went through 3 sets of contractors.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
you bought a university.
yeah,
You
exactly.
didn't buy a house. You bought a university.
Yeah. And like just the mold, just mold remediation alone, I got bids from $1,500 to $25,000. It's
Wow.
like crazy. Yeah. So I learned all of that, how to remediate mold very inexpensively.
How do you
Uh,
can we talk about that real quick? That can
yeah,
that
yeah,
be maybe one of the nuggets on the rehabbing side on how to
yeah.
properly remediate mold inexpensively? Can you
Yeah,
touch
yeah,
on?
yeah. So first of all, the visible mold that you can see, you can clean it off with Clorox very easily, right? If it's bad, you can just cut out that sheetrock or replace that cabinets or whatever. So you can remove the physical mold, and then the mold that you can't see, you contact a company that has ozone machines. They'll run it for like 2-3 days, and then you're gonna get the engineer that tests for mold to come in right after the ozone machine is done, and
Mhm.
they test it. And that's pretty much it. I mean, you don't
Just so you
really.
know, I own an ozone machine.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes, because of the same deal. I actually own also the camera for the sewage line.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So every time we suspect there's something going on, we run the line and we can see where it's broken. And then we'll either go replace it ourselves, like sometimes, because it's not really rocket science. Dig a hole, cut off the pipe, replace it. Um,
Yep.
and then so okay, so you the engineer comes in, they test, and then what?
Yeah, and then they give you a clearance, like, yeah. So as long as the test, because here in Houston, because it's very humid, like every house have mold, right?
I tell this to everybody. Every house has mold. It's just that the mold does not go from the exterior wall to the interior walls because the AC system keeps
Right.
the moisture out. That's it. But
Yeah.
if you go on vacations, Tim, and you leave your AC off for 6 months, you're gonna come back and you're gonna see mold in your house.
Yeah. So basically that's it. You get the lab company to come in, right after the ozone machine is done. So the house is still sealed at that point, right? There's no outside moisture that's coming into the house, and they'll give you a clearance very easily. And yeah, so from that house, I did 2 other houses. So the neighbor to the right side of the house is a real estate agent, and so I get to talk to her. It's like, yeah, I buy houses, blah blah blah. And she found, she had a listing of a house in a different neighborhood. They crazy. I don't know what this realtor was thinking, but she listed it on the MLS for $96,000. Okay, 96,000. This house, what happened was the owner had turned it into a music studio.
Okay.
So like they built a lot of walls, a lot of sound barriers. So basically, you have to go in and just demo all of that stuff out and put it back
Wow.
as a house. Anyway, so she listed for 96,000. I made her an offer for $55,000 cash. And then there was another buyer that offered 56,000. And I told her, it's like, look, see if you can get the seller to accept my offer, because you get both sides of the commission, and I can perform because I'm doing this house right next
Yeah.
to you, right? So that's what she did. She went and persuaded the seller to take my offer over the other offer. So I bought that house for 55,000. And then check this out. The neighbor to the left of my house, he was going through his his mold claim while I was
Wow.
remodeling mine. And so when his claim was done, he's like, hey Tim, yeah, make me an offer on my house. And it's like, how much do you want for it? He's like 89,000. And I said, look, my house is right next to yours. It's about the same size house, about the same amount of repairs. I bought my house for only 55,000. So can you do 55 on yours? And I can do it. And he agreed. You believe
Wow.
that?
3 houses on one shot.
Yes, all 55,000. Like that 55,000 was the magic number.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
You were
long story.
creating your own comps too, right? So
Yeah.
you know,
And yeah, exactly. And yeah, so the first house, I clear a little bit over 50,000 on that house.
wow.
Oh, talking about that. So I, like I said, I went through all these contractors. I went way over time, over budget. At the end, like, my wife and I were in there like painting the house ourselves pretty much.
Same thing with me, brother. My first house, I was there freaking doing the drywall. I was there. I learned how to install H.E.R.O, all that stuff.
Yeah. So yeah. So, by the time I'm done with this house, I'm like about 5 months into this house. Okay. I was so desperate. It's like, I need to sell this house fast. I need the money. Remember, this is like 11 months from the time I got laid off. So we're talking, without getting any pay yet. So I was so desperate to sell this house. So I went on, I went online. I did research on like how to sell your house fast. I asked around, and I saw this book. I found this book called How to Sell Your Home in 5 Days. The author is Bill H.E.R.O.
Okay.
Which is it's a like kind of like it's a auction style, highest bidding,
Right.
Highest bid round robin style. So I asked around town, like, who has done this here in Houston? I couldn't find anybody who has done it. So this is 2003. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna try it. And so I yeah.
Now you asked that question at the clubs that were around the area, the RIAs or
the Rich Club,
right.
was primarily. Yeah, I asked around, and like nobody has heard about this book, with the strategy. So I said, what do I have to lose? It just takes 1 week to get this thing, to get this campaign. Worst case scenario, if I don't sell it that week, oh well, right? So I did it. Long story short, got the house sold that weekend.
Wow.
And I end up selling it for 135,000 plus I paid I think 3% toward the closing costs, something
right.
like that. So that, gosh, like you said, I bought myself a university. I learned so much about rehabbing. I learned about, how to sell the house fast.
Managing contractors.
Managing contractors, about, how to negotiate with other houses, talk to the neighbors, right? Like I didn't, because I had the We Buy Houses sign on my car. So it was advertising for me while I was out on the job. And so I got deals from the neighbors. So I learned so much from that first house. Fast forward a little bit, right? So from 2002 all the way to 2008, I did, hundreds of deals. Everything from like residential lots to condos, townhomes, houses. I never got into apartments, but all the residential stuff I did during that time. I was one of the first guys that was doing TV commercials back in those days with Homevestors back in those days.
Okay, so you had a Homevestors franchise?
I didn't have a Homevestors franchise, but I was hanging out with them every Tuesday at Hooters.
Right.
With Eddie Gant and Jim Youngblood, a lot of the big guys here in town. I was doing a sizable volume basically, and I was doing both wholesaling and rehabbing at that time. And I thought, man, back then, like I wrote that seller's market up, and I thought that everything I touched turned into gold, right? And 2008 hit. And at that time, I had 30 properties in different stages of construction or reselling, on the market. And overnight, there were no buyers for them. and I couldn't even wholesale those deals because the rehabbers couldn't even get loans on their side. Hard money lenders, they were at that time, they were lending up to 75% of ARV, and overnight they dropped it to 55%. I mean, it was a tough market, you know, and yeah. So I basically I hang in there because I made really good money prior to that. I had some money to be able to kind of
Hey,
pay. But man, that gosh, looking hindsight now, I'd rather not have the money because then I probably would have navigated that market better. Anyways,
same thing happened to me in 2017 was my 2008.
yeah,
I had the money and I started paying and I started navigating, and I
yeah,
mean, he nearly bankrupted me. I mean, he bankrupted me. I had two attorneys say you got to file for bankruptcy, and I never did because I don't think I was bankrupt in my mind. My
yeah,
mindset was I was not bankrupt. I just had a cash flow problem, you know.
yeah,
But it's tough, man, because you lose millions of dollars, and
yeah,
it brings you down to your knees to where you're like, how did I get myself into this situation? I remember my wife, and I tell this all the time. I mean, you start making 100,000, 200,000, 300,000 per month, you're invincible now at this point. Like your ego gets a little big, and
yeah.
uh,
My personal overhead, forget about the business overhead. My personal overhead at that time was like 20,000 a month.
yeah,
It's like
yeah,
crazy.
because you buy the big house, car.
Yes, of course.
I get it. That was my personal. My personal overhead might not have. It was at some point probably that much, um, but I wasn't living lavishly. If you know what I mean. Like I wasn't like burning through money or anything like that. By the way, I brought that personal overhead from my previous life where I was in the oil and gas business. So I was making money for many years. But I don't have that overhead anymore. My personal overhead is not even $5,000 today.
Yeah,
You
me
know,
neither.
so I'm
Yeah.
like, I mean, I learned my lesson. And will I ever get to that point again? Maybe. I don't know. I don't think it fits me anymore. Like, I don't need a big house to prove to anybody that anything is. But at the time you go through those things, you want to get the big house. You're buying happiness, right? And people that think money doesn't buy happiness, they just don't know how to spend it. Okay. I say it all the time. They don't know how to spend it. They don't know where to go shopping or eating or how to get a big house or a fancy car, you know?
Yeah, I mean, for us, like, yeah, we went on a lot of trips. We did a lot of traveling back then. On top of our big house and the cars, but yeah, I mean, it was just crazy. We were definitely having a good life back.
That's good. So how much money do you think you lost during that time frame?
Man, I
You're like me. I quit counting at some point.
exactly.
Because
Yeah,
I would just get depressed thinking about,
yeah,
man, I can't believe I just lost $10 million. Like,
yeah,
where did the money go? Like,
yeah,
especially the money I had cash. I had like $3 million cash, and that thing just vanished. And my
yeah.
wife calls me one day, said, "Hey, which debit card do I use to put gas in our car?" And I was like, "What?" Just I don't know. Any debit card is my answer, right? And she's like, "I guess you haven't looked at your bank accounts because they're all red." And I was like, man, how do I go from making all this money into not having $50 to fill up my gas tank?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you start feeling like, what am I doing driving? Like she had a Toyota Highlander, right? With all the gadgets. Like now that $700 payment that I had on that thing, it seems like it's like an enormous payment, but at some point it was nothing. Like, oh, that's $700. That's it. Okay, no problems. So it makes you realize you got to start changing your lifestyle a little bit. You start adjusting. You also get the imposter syndrome, which is, I'm not this person that I think I was.
Right.
I feel like a failure now, or even though I never felt like a failure, I was I wasn't like, it happened to me. I couldn't pay notes anymore. And to me, I'm a man of my word. Like, I really want to perform, right? And how do I have a conversation with my private money lender that hey, man, I'm sorry, I just can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
I don't have any money, right? So anyhow, I didn't want to take the conversation that way, but I guess we got something to relate there, right?
Yeah, I mean, and you know, gosh, for me, it was so embarrassing for the longest time. It's only in the last few years, really, that I really start to share it in, you know, like in a deeper way. I mean, it was so embarrassing that when my wife and I had to put our house up for sale, we we were too embarrassed to even put the sign out in front of the yard. Like, we just wanted a quiet sale, you know.
You became a motivated seller.
Yes, exactly. You know, and yeah, so it's like
We did the same thing, Tim. I mean, I did it not long ago. I just sold my house a few months ago. I owner financed it out, right? Because I just said, man, I can't continue to pay this mortgage like this anymore. It's just too much money. I'm not producing as much as I used to. So I gotta adjust my lifestyle. And guys, for you guys watching this podcast right now, you are watching, for the most part, people on social media that are telling you the good things. I like this conversation because Tim and I are right now opening up and we're sharing the ugly side of what happens when you grow and then something disrupts the market.
yeah.
Okay. So keep in mind that if you're in this business and all you see is people winning, well, ask those winners when they lost, because they all had to lose at some point, or they're headed that way.
They're heading that way. Yeah. I mean, the last 10 years, you know, the whole US real estate market has been such a booming market. So like all of the guys that you see now that are flashing, you know, the Instagram blew up.
They're on their way up.
You know, they just haven't been to a downturn yet. So they, you know, so when, you know, Warren Buffett says it this way, right? When the tide goes down, you'll get to see who's naked. You know, you know, and so yeah. I mean, I definitely I wish them the best, and I want this message out to those guys so that way, you know, they protect themselves, because we are going to have a downturn. There's no doubt about it. And so, you know, it gets, I mean, that's just the nature of the real estate cycle. And so, yeah, so I hope that they protect themselves. But yeah, dude, like, if, you know, to kind of go back a little bit, the things that I learned, the things that I learned is, number one, I wish I had known to go back and renegotiate with my lenders much earlier.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, I didn't. I hang on. Finally,
because you wanted to honor the commitments.
Exactly.
That's simple.
Yeah. And so finally, when I couldn't hold on anymore, I went and told them this. I said, look, you know, I'm not able to pay the interest. Like I said, you know, I did my best. So you know, the ones that I had a bank loans on, I let the bank took the property because you know, because I wanted to hold on to the ones that I had private money on, because I want to make my private lenders right. And so I told my private lenders, like, look, I can't afford to pay you the interest I normally afford. You know, yeah. So I negotiate for them to basically allow me to just pay $100 a month, just $100 a month.
Wow.
And basically forgive the interest that you know that are still due, you know, until I'm able to like get through this. And so yeah, so I did, you know, so I did, you know, some lenders let me pay real, you know, very inexpensively. Some, you know, basically allow me to so I was paying 12% interest, and so I negotiate down to 6% interest instead of 12. And not only I negotiate down to 6%, but to retroact to all the interest I pay at 12% to bring those down to 6%. So that way those money are now being paid for longer term. You know, and so, yeah, I've done, you know, a lot of different maneuvering like that. And private lenders, this is what I love about private lenders. They're normal people just like you and I. And so they're very willing to work with you as long as you're in communication. You're not like putting your head in the sand and hiding somewhere and ignoring them.
But unfortunately, some of them also lose patience. They lose the patience. They say, oh,
Yeah,
okay,
you
I'm
do
gonna
have
go
those
foreclose.
people.
If you want to go foreclose, and do whatever you got to do, right? They're entitled to do whatever it is that they need to do, because at the end of the day, they got their money at risk. And I've been through that situation to where I had to hand some properties back and say, hey man, did I want to do that? No.
Yeah.
But they said, Ricardo, we don't see you getting ahead. And I was like, well, I haven't gotten my cash flow back again, so I'm working as hard as I can.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, you know what? We'd rather take the property and we're gonna put money on it, because at the end of the day, they have an asset that
Right.
they can go fix up, sell it. They're not gonna lose money. Trust me.
Yeah.
They're
So
not gonna lose money.
yeah. So in my case, yeah, none of my lenders wanted the property. They wanted to work with me. I had one that threatened to sue me. I was like, dude, you can sue me, but what are you gonna get?
There's nothing to get.
There's nothing for you to get.
When you're broke, there's nothing to get.
And so yeah, so I calmed him down, and we worked out a payment arrangement that worked. And he's actually the one that I worked down to the low down from 12% to 6%.
Right.
Yeah, but it's yeah. Anyways, so yeah, so I learned that, and of course I was wholesaling all along the way, so that helps a lot. I mean, if I didn't have a wholesaling business, I would be in even worse than I.
No, you would have been who knows where. I mean, I get it. I'm the same way. Like similar story to yours. Now I have 47 properties. That was $120,000 a month going out just on payments.
Right.
That's tough to swallow, man. And eventually that money runs out, and you're like, shit, man, what do I do now?
Right. And check this out. This is what got me into a depression. So I started, into the education business in 2006. Okay. Because 2006, I mean, I was the king.
Yeah.
I was doing so many deals. And so when this was happening in 2008, and I'm having to sort of manage through all of this, and I'm over here also teaching people how to start their wholesaling business, right? And I'm like, how you're talking about imposter syndrome? Shit.
Yeah.
I was like, how can I be out here teaching people, how to do deals when I'm barely, managing my own real estate
Probably
business.
not even making it, right? Because you're not. I mean, you're not the big shot that people think you are. I mean, you were at some point, but life changed.
Yeah.
And now but this is the thing, right? So, and I think you and I agree a lot on this, Tim. So, and I hate to cut you off, but because I'm in the same boat. I'm in the same boat, 100%, right? People look at me and they say, oh, he's this guy. I say, well, yeah, shit, but I just went through a major loss in the last 3 years. But one thing I took away from the family reunion when we went there last year, and Ron LeGrand was speaking, and I asked him a question. I don't know if you were in the room when I asked the question, because he talked about how he lost everything back in the 90s, right? Mm-hmm. And he brags about having $50 million worth of judgments and this and that. And as soon as he said that, I said, oh my God, that's me. My number is nowhere near that. I don't have any judgments, but I do have debt that's hanging around my neck that eventually it can turn into a judgment. If I don't address it right, or I'm able to cut a deal with the lenders that are not happy with me, which there are some of them that are out that way. I'm not borrowing money anymore. So I'm like, I'm not borrowing money. I'm sorry. I gotta, not for that purpose of flipping, because I'm okay with the wholesaling. I can create an income like that. But he said something very interesting to me. He said, I asked him, I said, Ron, how were you able to go out and do education and go out and do more deals? And he said, son, I had to put food on the table.
Yeah.
So I just, I was not going to let that failure defeat me and bring me down to the point to where I wasn't going to go feed my family. And the reality is I had to make a living. And even though I pretty much defaulted on all these loans, I just had to shift the strategy, but real estate was still the vehicle. So when he told me that, I had a sense of, okay, I'm not alone. You see, I
Yeah.
didn't know the extent of your story either, because we talk a lot, but we never got into the weeds of
Right.
what you went through personally, right?
Right.
And
Yeah, and it's I mean, like, well, I this is like my first time sharing it at this level of details for
hold on
sure.
a second, Tim. That's it. I had to drop a bomb there, man, because man, guys, if you guys are here watching this today or listening to this podcast, um, we're sharing a lot of personal stuff that not everybody's willing to share. Okay. You see a lot of people out there, they have big names, they show big checks. Do we make big checks? Yes, we do. Yeah, we do. We're negotiators. We know how to navigate these waters, right? But we're sharing our failures.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you, Tim, for opening up like you are right now, and sharing with the public, because when I did this not long ago, Tim. It wasn't too long ago when I went public and I said, look, this is where I'm at. And to me, it was like offloading a big elephant that I had been carrying on my shoulders.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I did it from the living room of the house I need to get rid of, because I couldn't make that note payment anymore. I was like, I'm in this $1 million home. Well, it's not $1 million. It was like 600,000. Still very expensive in Houston,
Right.
I'm sitting in my living room. I'm looking at this beautiful, and you actually feel like you're not worthy of it when you're going through something like that. You're like, man, I don't know why. I guess, we can share more afterwards on why you feel that way. Maybe that's the imposter syndrome that we've been talking about. But when I went and put that post public, it's like, okay, I let it go. That's it. That is done. It's like, I got it out of my chest.
Right.
And I think you're doing that right now.
Yeah, like you opening up like really created the space for me to open up, because I'm that type that like especially I've done so much in my career that a lot of people look up to me.
Yeah.
And so for me to come out and share vulnerably, like, it's really hard for me because I'm constantly having to live up to this image, right? This image that others have for me. And like hearing you share and stuff, like it opens up. I mean, I've shared sort of bits and pieces, but I've never like share like as
I know.
much.
I never heard it.
Yeah.
I know. This is a premiere, guys. Tim Mai opens up to the world and shares all the struggles, right? This is one thing, right? So, and I think we can relate back to the mastermind with John Jackson, the one where you and I met together. When you got up and talked about what you talked about, you were trying to find yourself. That's what I got from the mastermind, and I said, man, this guy is, because I looked up to you. I've always looked up to you, right? But I didn't know you personally. Like, I didn't know who you were, what you did, how many deals you did, or anything. I just knew that you were out there, right? And I had more communication actually with AC than I did with you. And it's because we kind of like talked about deals and things of that nature. But AC we weren't even friends. We just knew each other, right? I was helping him out launch his podcast. He hasn't launched yet, but maybe one day he'll do it. But when you first got on that stage and I said, man, this guy, he's lost and he's trying to find his way.
Right.
I felt like I was headed that way. You see, I was headed to where you were, but I was carrying this thing inside because this is almost 1.5 years ago.
Yeah.
When I went to that mastermind, I had just literally, so I put it to you in this way. That was back in 2019, if I'm not mistaken. No, 2019, I think it was. I made $1 million in assignments in 2019, and I was poor because all the money I was making was to throw it to properties, offload properties, pay my bills, all of that stuff, right? So I was a high producing person, but I wasn't keeping any money because I was just trying to get away from the debt. And I found I was broke, literally broke. But I said, I have to share with this group how I'm overcoming this, because I talked about how I opened all these different lanes to solve a problem. And I think you did that too.
Yeah.
You got into rehabbing, you were holding notes, then you got into wholesaling. That's how you started creating cash flow. Then created cash flow, then you went into the education space, and that created another stream of income for you. And
Yep.
and you were probably doing wholesaling and education now, not many flips because you get that sour taste of holding those notes. And like, hey, I don't want to note anymore, right? I got that sour taste right now. I don't want notes right now. Like literally, I don't want to buy anything, not even my own house. I can care less for buying a house for me personally today. Okay. So we all seem to find ourselves in the same path, right? And you're just a little bit ahead of me. That's it, because you went through that. I wish I would have met you 3 years ago, Tim, because you would have saved me millions of dollars. Millions.
Which is what I love about you sharing your story and like what have me open up to share my story is because I want others who are listening to this. So that way, if you guys ever find yourself, in this situation that Ricardo and I have gone through, like please, like reach out, whether it's to us or to someone who have been through it to guide you through it, because I didn't have anyone to guide me through it. Ricardo didn't have anyone to guide him through it. If we had people who guide us through it, man, it would have been so much better.
Easier. It would have been easier. But this is the thing, because I was so busy with my own business. I never networked prior to 2017. I did network a little bit. It was occasionally, but it was because I was going to look for something specifically. Let's say I wanted a new hard money lender or a new private money lender. I will go to networking events and I will find my person, get it, and go out. But I wasn't trying to build relationships at the time because I had a job. So I was building my relationships in that world, in the oil and gas business world. Now, when Dennis and I started going through, and by the way, this is like the perfect storm because before Harvey, I had another package of houses. It was like 20 or 30 houses that we had on private money. And what we did, I had two other partners, Jose and Brian, who I love to death. I mean, those guys are great people. They helped me so much. After I got laid off from the oil and gas business, we started our company together. And our purpose was to buy property to buy and hold. It was never to flip or anything like that. So we got all these properties to buy and hold. But eventually we found ourselves pulling in different directions. I wanted to flip more, get more deals, flip at a scale. They didn't want to do that because they didn't want the liability. So I had to buy them out of the company. But the way I bought them out is I gave them all the assets that were already rented and producing, and I stayed with the liabilities. So that's why when Harvey hits, it hits like at the worst time because now I got all the liabilities. I don't have producing assets. And I literally just bought these guys out with a bunch of properties that we had together. And now I'm just swimming with Dennis. And man, it was horrible. So now, do I regret going through all of that? No, I don't. Otherwise, I don't know if I would be able to be of help to somebody that's going through the same thing that you and I went through.
Yep.
But I think we got something in common. And it's that we've both gone through the same phases. You're just a little bit ahead. And this is what I want to talk about right now. That way we don't focus more on the negativity, on all the bad stuff. But so you become a trainer, right? You start teaching people how to do real estate. And I remember you guys had a big company here in Houston where you were training people. And can you talk a little bit about that and where you are today in regards to coaching?
Yeah. So that particular, so I started my education business in 2006, and I started doing seminars here in Houston. And then and then in 2007 I went nationwide. So I've taught to like thousands of students all over the world, pretty much. Funny story: one of my students in Holland married one of my VAs in the Philippines. So,
oh wow!
she was doing like kind of like what Lauren does for you right now.
Yeah.
So she was doing support for my students, and they got to know each other, and they got married.
Wow. That's awesome, man. So you're a matchmaker too.
Yes, exactly. That's my side hustle.
Yeah.
But so yeah, I mean, I've taught thousands of students online, and I was doing really well with that, but I wasn't doing national wholesaling like you're doing now. All of
Yeah.
my deals were in Houston, and my students that were online, their success rate was very minimal. It's like your typical 3-5% students that actually take action and do something, right? Like and do a deal. And I remember that when I first started teaching in 2006 in Houston, my student success, meaning the number of my students that actually do their first deal, was much higher, because they can come to my office, they see the deals that we blast out all the time, so it's very real for them. So I was like, you know what, I want to shut down my online education and focus on local education, local coaching. So yeah, that's when I met with AC, and we got together, and I like how he back then he runs a team very similar to how you're running your team right now.
Yeah, me and Zim are very much, and AC are very much alike when it comes to. That's what I like, AC, man. I feel like I've known him for years, but I have not. I've only known him for a couple of years now. When we talk, we think very much alike when it comes to teamwork and all that stuff.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And so that's what I liked about his model as well. So I was like, hey, why don't we team up? We'll coach people locally, help them be successful. So yeah, so our goal was this: we create, we start out saying, okay, look, we want 100% of our students do at least one deal while they're in our coaching program. That's like that was our metrics, right? And so we pretty much did everything that we could possibly do for our students, like that we can. And obviously we can't make decisions for them, right? They still have to make their own decision. They still have to pull the trigger when it's needed, but we provide contractors, title company, private lenders, like any resource they could possibly need to run their business here in Houston. We did the marketing for them. We did the direct mail for them. All they have to do is we did a round robin. We all pull our money together to do marketing, and we round robin the calls, the leads that were coming in. And
it's a great model, by the way. That model is awesome because everybody gets to learn at the same time. Everybody pitches in. The deal flow starts coming in. Yeah. I have something similar. You've seen it. So
yeah.
So anyway.
So basically, so we decided, unlike, because I've been through the online education where you take on as many students as you can, right? And this, there are disadvantages in that model. So
it's coming up. Yeah, it's the camera. It turns on and off. It's a DSLR, so every 30 minutes it shuts down.
Oh, gotcha. So where was I?
Which, by the way, I'm buying a camera from AC. I just haven't picked it up.
Yeah, you told me. So we wanted a model where we work with a lot less clients, right? A lot less students. We charge higher fees. We charge up to $100,000 for coaching. We charge a higher fee, but we go deep with them. We basically help them build out their entire business. And while we didn't achieve the 100% success that we set out to, at least 80% of our students did at least one deal in our program. Yeah, so
that's a good return. I mean, that's a good, because the other 20%, I mean, they just don't get it, man, and maybe they're not putting the efforts in it. They're not, they're not following through.
Life gets in the way. What I found is that there's good people. It's just life gets in the way.
Yeah, and sometimes Tim, is also mindset, right? Yeah. They start thinking I'm not good enough. They start thinking I can't do this. Is not for me, or I can't do it. And probably they're right, but that can be fixed. That can always be fixed.
Yeah. Talking about the I'm not good enough mindset, I want to share about that, because that's something I deal with. Like people don't realize this about me, but when it comes to mindset, the biggest thing I deal with is the I'm not good enough sort of
You
voice, right? Yeah, voice that goes on. Whenever I'm in a mastermind, like we were in a San Antonio mastermind, right?
yeah.
No matter how much experience I have, no matter how much everything, when I'm in a room with other successful entrepreneurs, my I'm not good enough screams at me.
Really? I didn't know.
Yes. Nobody can tell, but
Well,
like
I did notice that you were asking a lot of questions at the end, which was great because they were all great questions. Like that's the thing. One of us ask a question. It's not going to be a boot camp question. It's going to be all right, let's think about how we answer this question because it's more of a higher level
right.
type question. But I didn't know you felt that way.
Yeah, so like it doesn't matter if I'm in a room with like successful investors or successful gurus or whatever. Like I deal with this thing, and I'm sharing this to share that, chances are like the listeners who are listening in, you might be dealing with it too. And the difference whenever you have the I'm not good enough screams at you, you can let that win over you, and you go higher way, or you take yourself away, or you can or you can learn to I call it be with it, like just say like, you know what, it's a voice that's always going to be there no matter what level of achievement that I have. That voice is always going to be there, so I'm going to accept that it's always going to be there, and I'm going to be in action. I'm going to be involved. I'm going to stay in the game.
And that's why you're talking so much right now about the 100-day challenge,
Right.
because you're actually fixing your mindset with this challenge that you're doing. That because I've been following your challenge. I watch your videos. By the way, guys, do me a favor. If you're watching this on YouTube, you got to go find Team Mai on YouTube. I'm actually going to put a link down below to his channel. That way you can subscribe to his channel. And he's just launched. He's got no followers right now. Maybe, I don't know, maybe 5 followers or so. I don't know what the count is, but go find Team Mai. Click that button because Team Mai has a lot to value to add to you guys. You can tell he's been around for a while now. And what I love about what you're doing right now, Tim, is you're opening up, you're being vulnerable, which is so hard for so many of us, to open up and share those so intimate things that are kind of like in our subconscious mind. They drag us down.
Right.
And for you, I never expected that from you, to be honest with you, because I know that you have a very strong mindset, like you are a very, a positive mindset type person. But I didn't know that you had a voice screaming that I'm not good enough. I had no idea.
Yeah. And so I mean, and I share that, to share that all of us, we're gonna have some kind of voice. We always have, like that's just part of being a human being. Like you're gonna have that voice, and it's up to you it's like a muscle that you have to train yourself to take action despite the voice that you hear, right?
Wow.
Yeah. And so
all right, man. So let's fast forward to the end of the program, because we've been actually going at it for now an hour.
Okay.
We thought we were going to do this in like 30 minutes. But anyhow, you are today, I think you found your purpose. And I am a firm believer. When I saw you, when I talked to you in Tampa and you said, I want to do this, and that, I said, bingo, he's got it. Because I remember when we went from the mastermind at John, you were trying to find your way, navigating through, what do I do next? Like what's next for me? Right. And I thought about it all the time. I said, man, what is next for Tim? I do care for people when I see them that they don't have I call it the north.
Mm-hmm.
Where you have a north, where you're going, right? Or which life your direction is. In other words, a purpose, right? And I believe you found a purpose that I actually personally, I told you yesterday, I want to help you promote, which is training other trainers.
Right. Yeah. And I have, so yeah, in sort of finding myself and my journey, I wanted to, like, what am I going to do next? What's next for me? I've done plenty of real estate. Like real estate doesn't excite me anymore. It It does, like the deal I shared with you yesterday, right?
Yeah.
Home run deals excite me, but other than that, if they're not home run deals, they don't really excite me anymore. And I've already, been through the education business where I've taught, been a coach and taught, thousands of students. So I was like, what's next for me? And what's next for me to share with you, and the reason why of what's next for me, what I did, that business I started with AC, was the most fulfilling business for me.
Okay.
And I love like seeing students succeed. And so when I look at the industry, the education industry, I'm very unhappy with the industry as a whole. And here's why. Right now in our industry, most educators have sort of accepted the status quo that, hey, only 3-5%, maximum 10% of our students ever gonna succeed anyways, right?
Right.
And so I don't like that. I don't like that we have accepted that status quo. I want to transform the coaching industry, not just in real estate, but in all kinds of business coaching. Right now, when for the most cases, now of course I don't have the exact statistics for this, but I'm going to assume that right now when someone hires a coach, let's say if they didn't hire any coach at all, their chance of success is 50-50.
Right.
Okay? All right. And when they hire a coach right now, their chance of success is maybe 60%, 60-40, right? Maybe,
Yeah.
right? I want it to be where, as an industry, when someone decides to hire a coach, their chance of success is at least 80-20. At least 80-20. Much higher than if they're on their own, right?
Right.
And so, if I'm a coach, then all I can do is help my students do that. But if I am like a coach to the coaches, I can sell all of the coaches in our industry that ideology that, hey, let's get, as a whole, let's get our in our industry, get our student success rate way up, at least 80%. At least 80% of our students who sign up for our coaching do at least one deal, because once someone does a deal, I mean, all kinds of light bulbs turn on for
Proof
them.
of concept. It works.
Yeah, it works, right? And even if they do one deal and they're like, you know what, this is not for me, that's fine.
At least they did one deal and they might have gotten their money back or something, right?
Exactly. And so that's my, so like that's the why behind I'm getting into the business of coaching the coaches and doing a mastermind for coaches, is because that's what I like. Ultimately, that's what I want. And I attempted, and I attempted to do this a couple years ago. But when I attempted to do this a couple years ago, at that time I was still in a place where I got to make money from this business. And now I'm at a place where I'm willing to go all into the business. And if the business doesn't make money, hopefully it just doesn't lose me money. If the business doesn't make money in the first year, I'm okay with that. Like
I don't think you will lose your money, because I think what the value that you have to add is there. And I'm actually, I told you, hey, if I can't make it because I have my reasons that particular day, there's something going on with me that I can't really be there, I will make sure I send somebody. Right. And because I do see the value in what you're doing, to me, it's more, I really want to support your cause. I want to help you promote it. I want to make sure that as many people that I can reach can come and meet you in person, because sometimes we're not really accessible to people. We have schedules. We got, we're busy with business. Like, I'm running my business all the time. I actually got to the point a couple of days ago where I told Shane, I said, man, I think I'm going to get me another office downstairs, because people are just starting to show up again in my office on no notice, and they just want to feel the energy, right? So if you guys are watching this video, we're probably going to pop a link underneath if you want to go to the team's mastermind. Now, keep in mind, guys, if you're not into coaching yet, I still want you to go there, because it might open up your mind on how to approach coaching for real estate. Now you gotta have done some real estate deals, guys, in order to go become a coach. Otherwise, you're not gonna be able to teach the right stuff. You just gotta go through the motions. If you would have asked me, I don't know, 5 to 6 years ago, if I saw myself teaching somebody something, my answer would have been no. Even though I had done a ton of deals, I never saw myself as a coach. I actually don't even like the word guru. You know this very well. Because you told me one day, said, Ricardo, you're becoming a guru. And I said, no, I'm not a guru. I am a duru. It's a little different because I'm doing the business, right? But we will put a link on this video below. This is kind of like I'm putting Tim on a hot seat now because he needs to pump out that website pretty fast. That way you can get your ticket. You're going to meet Tim, possibly me, and a lot of other badasses. Who can you share who's going to be on that mastermind, Tim?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much the biggest names, some of the, not all of the biggest, some of the biggest names that you know in the industry that you look up to. A lot of the gurus are going to be there. I mean, guys like Ron LeGrand, Russ Whitney. I'm asking Dan Merrill to come out as well. I'm friends with a lot of these guys. I grew up in the education space. Dan Merrill and I were, we started the education business about the same time. We were in a mastermind together when we first started it. And so there a lot of the big brands that it's gonna be there.
Yeah, awesome, man. I can't wait. I gotta make it there, man. I must. I just gotta check that other thing that I have going on that same day and make sure it works for me. But we're gonna put a link down below, guys, so you guys can sign up and go learn how to be a coach, or maybe learn how to up your coaching business if you already have one. Because Tim already has and not only Tim, everybody that's going there is already a coach at some level. They already have the know-how on how to do this. It will cut your time short if you're just getting started, or maybe you just got started, but you don't know what's next for you. I'm definitely learning a ton from Tim, just from our conversations. But I want to be there because everyone has something to add on how to approach coaching the right way, or mentorship. You explain the difference in between coaching, mentors, and what was the other one? I forgot.
Consultant.
And consultant. So there's different buckets for different categories and for different approaches. And Tim definitely got this thing dialed in 100% when it comes to the coaching. So Tim, thank you so much, man, for coming in today, opening up the way you did. This is amazing. It's probably, I'll be honest with you, is one of the best podcasts I've ever done, because not everybody gets to open and share failures, right? Like we both did today. Like, I feel like our bond is much stronger now. And also, for you guys that are watching this video, pay attention, guys. Some of you start doing deals and you start growing, and your head starts getting a little big, and the ego starts growing. And then you're going to catch yourself where Tim and I were at some point, where the universe or God, whatever you want to call it, will bring you down to humble you, because that's what it was. That was a humbling experience, right?
Yeah.
Everything that you were able to get, money wise, lifestyle wise, love wise, because even love disappears when money goes out. Trust me. Luckily, I'm still married to my beautiful wife, but man, the relationship starts getting a little tense, and they don't see you the same way they saw you before, and they start talking to you a little different, and because you're not able to provide as much as you were in the past, right? So you will go through this eventually, guys. And if you find yourself in that situation, feel free to reach out. Even though we operate at a high energy level type, we do a ton of deals, we do a bunch of stuff. That doesn't mean we didn't go through. I'm still going through some of that. Okay, so a full disclosure, I'm still going through some of that, and I'm dealing with it as I speak. But I know how to deal with it now. Yeah. And I don't let it bother me. It used to bother me a ton. Man, what am I going to tell this guy? Or what? Now it's like whatever, man. Now I understand they were in business just like I was, and now they got to do whatever it is that they got to do to protect their interests, and I'm okay with that. I'm not even mad at them if they're mad at me. You follow me? Yeah. It's just this mind shift that I had to create. But for a couple of years, I was very, very, I don't know. I didn't know how to handle it. I didn't even know people went through that stuff around me. Like, I wish I would have met you 3 years ago or 4 years ago. I wish I would have met some other people that went through the same situation many years ago. And this is the beautiful thing about it, Tim, is that us, the ones that keep on pushing and keep on swimming, we're gonna get to shore.
Yep.
And you might be exhausted, you might be tired, but at least now you're on shore. You might still be wet, you know. And the way I see it is, I have my bruises and my scars, but I'm alive and I'm trucking now. And now I met someone else. I'm not going to mention his name because I don't know if he wants me to disclose his name. He went through something similar in 2008, and now we're in the place he is today. It's like, man, that's where I want to be. So now I have something to shoot for. Because, okay, man, how do you fix it? Well, Ricardo, I just do free and clear properties now, and you probably know who I'm talking about when I say this. He's in Virginia somewhere. We had some extensive conversations, and now he says I get up and I just don't know what to do with me. Like that. Now he's got a different challenge, which is
Right.
what is he gonna do with all that time he's got free now? But man, I appreciate you so much, Tim. I really do. If you're watching this episode, guys, please share, like, and subscribe. Go to Tim's channel. Make sure you subscribe. He's doing the 100 day challenge right now, where he's posting a video on a daily basis. He's doing like 200 push-ups or something crazy like that. He talks a lot about motivation, self-development, what's going through his life at the moment. I enjoy watching your videos, Tim, not only because of the energy you're projecting, but you laugh. So it's so funny, man. I just love the energy. So Real Estate Entrepreneurs Podcast, guys, you will see a lot more guys in similar situations like Tim and I were coming through this line, because we want to tell you the truth, the bad, the good, the bad, and the ugly of this industry. And what happens when things go wrong and what happens when things go well. So, this is a very humbling experience for me, my brother. And until then, we'll catch you on the next one. You take care. Bye.